This recording is just a brief overview of how to prepare and study for this week's unit exam. The first unit, as you know, there wasn't an exam, but here in Unit 2, you will have your first exam in Wiley Plus. Please note when you go to the Unit 2 overview, there is an Exam 1 review document, so open it up. Okay, so I've opened up the document. You can see the various topics for each chapter. And then what's the exam format? It does tell you you only have 1 hour to take the exam. So even though technically it's open book, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to look things up. The goal of the exam is really to test what you know and what you can do, not really whether you can look things up. So we do want to know at this point, what do you know? And that's what the purpose of the exam is. Notice there are 20 multiple choice questions, 2 problems, 50 points each. So the problems are a huge component of the test. Won't be surprising what those problems would be, right? If you think about it, in Chapter 3, we recorded journal entries, just regular journal entries, and you had to problem solve for adjusting journal entries. And then you also had to prepare financial statements. So that makes an easy problem 1, problem 2. So you can anticipate that up front. How are you going to prepare for this test? Well, study your class notes. Theoretically, you should have been printing out the study materials while you're watching the recorded videos and taking notes. So print them out, take notes while you're watching the recorded lectures. That's the goal. I tried to set this course up as if you were in a class setting, that you don't miss out on a lecture that would have been available to you if you were in class. So ideally, you're printing out those materials and watching the recorded lectures. If not, you are very, very closely reading the textbook to get an understanding of what's going on. The only downside is that the book doesn't really demonstrate, how to problem solve a lot of the homework assignments, and I do try to do that in the recordings. Okay, so study those class notes. Your homework, your Wiley Plus assignments, you want to go back and, rework those, whether you're just kind of mentally reworking it, not that you're really actually writing them out. You might print them out and write them out on your own if you want. I assume that you all know that you can print the Wiley Plus assignments out before actually doing the assignments, and then just enter your answers in Wiley Plus, that you saw that announcement. The other thing I want to point out are these study guides that are in Wiley Plus. And I've had a lot of my students tell me that these study guides were very helpful in preparing for exams. So I'm just wanted to show you how to access the study guides. So let me kind of click through the course. When you click next on the last page, the ebook opens up, and so do all these resources in Wiley Plus. If you click on classroom resources, then these sorts of things open up, lecture, flashcards, crossword puzzle, and then the study guide. So if you click on that, you're going to see there will be it'll have notes from the chapter, and you may find that very, very helpful. You will notice that I actually printed Chapter 1 study guide out for you for the course, because I did find it very helpful, because Chapter 1 was a lot of theory. Chapter 1 and 2 are a lot of theory. It also has a lot of vocabulary. So this stuff here, I don't think you'll find useful. It's just, a rough outline. And true false, I don't have true false questions in any of my exams, so no sense bothering with those. Oh, I need to go back. Let me go back to modules. Actually, I really should be back in Unit 1, because that's really going to have a study guide that I think is going to be really helpful for you. Okay, so I fast forward. Here we'll click on Classroom Resources for Chapter 3, and then click on the study guide. And again, you can see this one's really long, 33 pages. This is just like PDF versions of the study guide. It's like a textbook in a PDF format. This isn't like Wiley Plus. So this goes through, gives you a short version of the the chapter. I also like that it has vocabulary words. This part here, the chapter outline, I would skip, and I would also skip the true false. But what I do think you'll find helpful in preparing for exams are to come back and look at these multiple choice questions, because some of your exam is multiple choice. You haven't been working anything in a multiple choice format in Wiley Plus. So if you want to practice what would multiple choice be like, come to chapter 1, 2, and 3 and work these multiple choice questions. And the cool thing about it, by the way, chapter 3 will have multiple choice, just like we saw in chapter 1. It'll also have exercises. Again, those are practice problems like you might have on the exam. I wouldn't work any exercise that I haven't already hinted at that is likely to be on the exam. But again, it is good practice in addition to reviewing your Wiley Plus homework and making sure you understand and can work that. I'm going to really scroll through here real fast. Okay, so the one thing, though, that I really like about the study guide is if you work the multiple choice, as you keep going through the pages, you're going to see here's the answer key. And not only does it tell you multiple choice, number 1, the answer is A, it's going to tell you why it's the best answer. So it's a really good learning tool. So do that, and then also the review exercises. Of this, and I guess you wrote out the income statement and the balance sheet. It gives you those answers as well, so that if you practice that, it's kind of like a pretend exam. So I did want to go over that. Okay, and that's all I have to say.